Dark Castle.
Where's that?
It was here.
Oh no.
Okay, so this used to be a 4D ride, very similar to Spider-Man and Transformers at Universal. Basically, what happened was there was this little kid, Ludwig, who was a prince. This was where he lived. He was a little crazy. Even the nicest people couldn't tolerate this child. And so what they did, so he was in the woods one day, and then he was being solitude, and then he bumped into this old lady. He howled at her for interrupting his solitude, and then she turned into a wolf and told him his dark future. At some point, his parents were like, dude, stop being weird. And then they disappeared. So then he became king, and he turned this entire castle into a fortress of solitude with hidden passageways, so that he was able to go around and like not have to see anybody the entire time. And at some point, he used up all the money. And so the treasury was like, hey, sir, we have no more money for all this weird stuff you're doing. Can you stop? He's just like, ha! And he threw a great big party for them in his honor. In their honor with golden carriages. And he took them for a trip inside the forest where no one was ever seen or heard from again. Bump, bump, bump. And so then you would get on these, when you rode the ride, you would get on these golden carriages and they would take you inside where he's throwing knives at you and food at you. And then he puts you in the fireplace. At some point, all the ghosts are like, get out. And I'm like, it's too late for that. And then, like, at some point, like, his tongue becomes a snake and starts to bite you. I don't remember exactly what happens. I just remember it being weird. And then at some point, you're outside. At some point, Mom's like, we can get y'all out of here. And so we're, like, following Ghost Mom as we, like, travel around. And then he becomes a wolf. And then he, like, gets too far out of his border. So then he turns into ice and explodes. So we get a little wet. And then, like, as we're exiting the ride, he's like, you'll never escape. And I was a sassy child, so I would scream, as we walk out the door. And then that was the ride. And now DarKoaster is an iteration of that storyline. Basically, we're now in modern times. We're trying to figure out why it is always in a snowstorm at the top where this castle used to be, which is why you guys are riding it on snowmobiles, and it's always 65 degrees inside.
So like as you're walking through the normal queue line for this ride, there's like meteorology equipment and like ghost hunting equipment as well. The like main room is kind of themed to like a snowmobile mechanic shop. So there's like a lot of like old snowmobile parts on the shelves and things like that. So it's basically like an expedition like base of operations. And the whole time that you're inside of the ride area, that's supposed to be you driving around the castle grounds on that snowmobile while King Ludwig's ghost is haunting you guys. So you can go ahead and go inside.
Yeah, I just want to make sure.
So before this coaster was built and opened, there was a haunted house in here. Two haunted houses in here, sorry. And they just utilized the dead space to build those haunted houses. They also had Santa Claus in here one year. That was pretty funny. And then prior to this building and castle even being built, they had a Wild Mouse coaster in this area called Wild Izzy. So when we get to the trains, we can show you guys
This is what Wild Izzy was. I did not know that.
a little fun fact about the history of this ride.
Can we talk about these at all?
Oh, we can.
So,
these are. Or you can.
Does he want to come up here?
Because you were here. Yeah.
I was. On one of these, it says Joseph Peterson. I want to say in purple because that's my favorite color. But all the team members that worked in 2003 and the pass holders, they got to come and write their names on this. So I knew I wasn't writing it for sure. I have written it, and I regret that decision every time I write it. But so everyone wrote their names. So I wrote my dad and my brother's name on it and said they were writing it. That's at some point.
Jane, you have the keys, so I need you for the catwalk.
You don't go on the first?
Huh?
The dum-dum-dum-dum?
Yeah, we're about to go in here, but I'm saying I need you.
Okay, I want to stay in the back. So we're going to turn off on this really.
We're gonna go into the control room for the ride. So in here These windows are tinted. They're meant to be like kind of a one-sided thing, so people in the line can't see you in here while you're operating the ride. You guys can kind of come in this way so you can see all the control panels and stuff. So in here, this is where the main ride operator, this area is called the controls area. When you're out here on the platform, those little gates over there and kind of in the corner back there, those are for the people that are actually loading the guests onto the trains. When they want to dispatch a train, both of them clear the platform. Like they speak through this microphone, they say clear platform, and then they say back platform clear. And then they stick out their thumbs, press down the dispatch buttons on their control panels, and when they're in here, they press the dispatch button again in here, and that's what sends the train. You can see all of the cameras for the ride space. Right now, it's really easy to see everything because the lights are on inside the building, but all the cameras that are inside of the building, so here, and back here in this area, those are all infrared cameras, so when the lights are off, you can see the people on the ride, see what they're doing, and you can see the trains. But this just helps the ride operator know if there's anything that's happening that is not okay, such as somebody being in a ride restricted area, or one of the theming elements broke, or the switch track isn't switching. Something that isn't supposed to be happening is happening. This camera behind you is a camera view specifically of the first launch. So at the very back, that is the corner of the station over here. And there's 2 launches on this ride. When we go to the catwalk, I'll show you that. On this computer screen, you can see all of the block sections on the ride and all of the ride sections, as well as the restraint system. So all of these restraints are green right now, meaning that they're all locked down, which is why you can see all of the lap bars in the down position right now. And this portion of the track on the screen right here is red because both of these block sections are taken up by trains. So there's one block section right here, which is the station, and then there's one right behind us, which is where this train is right here. But as these trains run through the track, these sections of track will light up red, meaning that a train cannot be dispatched onto that section of track until that section of track is clear. That's just there just in case a train valleys, which means that there's a hazard on the track and the train slows down to the point where it can't finish the course. If it can't make it to the next block section, then it valleys, it stays in that place. And that means that the next train can't come through, because if it does, it will strike the other train, and that is not good. Fun fact.
I'd say that's probably not.
Fun fact, on Thursday, Big Bad Wolf, the new one, valleyed right as it was coming out of the station. And they had to pull it back into the station with ratchet straps. It was kind of funny. The ride's brand new, so they're kind of getting used to everything there, although they shouldn't be valleying it. I don't know what happened. Either way. But this is all the computer system for the ride. There's like keys and legends for what all these lights and stuff mean. That's just for the ride operators and everything. When we go to the maintenance bay, there is a server room that has like all of the computer systems for the ride in there, and that has like an animated view of the ride when it's running. If one of the maintenance people is there, I can get them to show you guys, but if not, then I'll kind of have to make you imagine. This clipboard right here, with this piece of paper on it, this ride has been green tagged for today, meaning that maintenance went through and did all their inspections, made sure everything was okay for the ride operators to come and turn on. The ride operators should be here right now. I have no idea where they are.
Probably clocking in and figuring out.
Yeah, it's 9:30 is when they're supposed to be here, I guess. But they sign the sheet, anything that is wrong or whatever, and they have to close the ride, they write it down here, take this clipboard down. It's red on the underside. So it says, do not operate without today's daily ride inspection correctly signed today, whatever. That's just there to make sure that the ride operators here know that the ride can actually be run and is safe for guests. Mind you, is a padlock station. This is for our lockout tagout procedures. This is just to make sure that if somebody is in a ride restricted area, which is anywhere that the ride path goes, that they can't turn on the ride. So they'll put their ID and their lock around one of these things and lock a gate open, and they'll wear the key around their neck so nobody can take that lock off and open the ride. We'll go out this way.
Catwalk?
Yes.
So if they start running the ride and they don't know we're in there, I will leave them behind. So you have to stay with them.
Well, I'll have my phone out and my flashlight out so you guys aren't scared of the dark as well.
Sure, sir. Stand next to the door, and if you stop hearing me, I'm leaving.
The dark makes me feel a little woozy.
So when we go out on the catwalk, I'll just ask that you guys kind of stay towards this end of it. There's a control panel at the end, at the other end for evacuation procedures that they have there, just in case something goes wrong. They don't like it when we go down there. So I ask you guys to stay here. You guys can take pictures and videos of anything that you want to. There are no poop prints out. Lights are off. This ride is very special in the way that it goes around the same section of track twice, which is what these two switch tracks are for. At this end, when it completes one lap, they have little fans and strobe lights to kind of flash them and make the floats come up into the air, so you guys can make them look more scary and things like that. Over here is the camera for the ride, so this is actually takes pictures. Right next to that security camera is a big strobe and like photo camera. As you come by, it'll take a picture of each one of the rows. There's 5 rows on this ride, 2 seats each trains, which makes for a pretty bad ride capacity. So this ride will regularly have about an hour to like a little bit over an hour long wait. And that is attributed to the bad ride capacity and also the amount of technology that is on this ride. There are so many moving parts and so many sensors that it makes it that much easier for this ride to go down. So if there's a sensor fault or if there's like one small thing wrong, they have to turn the entire ride off and then turn it back on again, which causes like a 10-15 minute delay, which causes the line to back up like crazy. So that's why this ride gets a pretty long line really easily. But it's just because they're trying to be really safe and they want to make sure everything is working for the guests. They want to make sure everybody gets the experience that they deserve. So this ride only uses drive tires to launch the cars. A lot of other launch coasters will use LSMs, which are magnetic launch. Linear synchronous motors are LSMs. They are for using magnets to launch the train, kind of like a railgun would. These just use tires and friction to just propel the train forward. It's a very simple launch design. This ride only goes about 35 mile an hour maximum, so they're very good for doing that kind of work. And it's only about 30 feet high. The highest you get is over there. The truck kind of goes into the ceiling a little bit. That's the closest you get to the ceiling. What makes that more impressive is that this entire coaster was built inside of this building. So this building was here before this coaster was. So they had to get all of these track pieces, all these supports into that giant garage door in the back, and then somehow put them together in the correct way. If you guys have ever moved like a giant couch through a small doorway in your house or something like that, just imagine that with this like 3-ton piece of metal and a giant crane. So it was kind of difficult, but they did a pretty good job with the space that they had. A lot of people were kind of upset with this coaster because it was kind of small, and the old ride that was here before was kind of beloved for a lot of people. But I think it's really cool, and it's got a lot of cool technology on it. It's a very fun coaster, especially because of the straddle coaster cars that you get to ride on. It kind of makes you feel like you're on a motorcycle or a snowmobile. So it's a really unique ride experience. I'm happy with it. These gray and yellow lines that you see down here, these yellow lines kind of outline where maintenance should stay whenever they're in the ride restricted area. All of this is an area where you cannot walk when the ride is on. So these yellow lines are kind of like pathways that the maintenance people should stay on whenever they're inspecting the ride. If they need to move closer to something, they can, but it's kind of just a safety recommendation to keep them away from anything that might be harmful. These gray lines, however, Jay was telling you guys about the Curse of Dark Castle ride that was here before us, and how it was a kind of 4D tracked ride. that gray line is where that whole track used to be. So you can kind of follow the gray line around the building, kind of see where those old cars used to drive through. When you go to the maintenance bay, you can see it a lot clearer because this entire wall over here is a facade. There used to not be a wall here because that is not the side of the warehouse. That is where the maintenance bay for this ride is. We'll go ahead and check it out. But as with a lot of large, dark buildings in which guests cannot see, you might want to utilize a lot of this extra space. They do the same exact thing in Revolton, in which they just use the entire back area for just random storage. So that's why there's a ton of pallets and like giant boxes in the back there. That is not ride specific. That is just them utilizing the extra space they've got, so they don't have random things out the pathways, things taking up service roads and anything like that. Pretty cool little thing they've got here. In the Revolton ride area, they have Skyride cars. Sometimes they have Bert and Ernie's Block Adventure little dragon things from the Sesame Street area in there. And whenever they've got a train deconstructed for maintenance, they put all the body panels in there too. It's just something pretty cool that they do with these spaces, just to make sure they're utilizing every bit of space they've got. You guys got any questions about anything you're seeing so far, or anything you want to know about that's in here specifically? Well, we'll go ahead and head out. After you guys get to ride, I'll ask the ride operators to send a few trains with the lights on, and we'll come back up here and I can show you guys.
Okay, yeah.
When the trains come through.
That'd be awesome.
Then I have a video on my phone from when they started letting me put the lights on.
But we'll head down to the maintenance bay now, Jenny.
Okay. Hello! Found one. I didn't find a light feature.
I think that door's already locked.
It is locked.
Oh my gosh.
It's normally locked.
Well, it's normally... Here, let's see what they got.
It's normally a problem for me. Oh, also, where'd he go? Normally when I exit the maintenance bay, I don't come back through this door. Normally when I exit the maintenance bay, I don't exit through this door.
Oh, okay.
I'll show you where we on top of that.
Will do.
So, again, you can take pictures of anything except for this piece of paper on the wall.
Okay.
Everything else is fair game, though. So in here, there's not much to show you in terms, like, relative to the other maintenance bays that we'll go to. The other ones are a lot more like crowded, so there's a lot more things in there. But this one's really clean, so I kind of like this one.
Yeah, the other three have a car that's currently being worked on. This one only has 2 cars, so if the line's ever really slow, I think they only have one spin and the other one's in here getting just a simple thing that's right there.
So I mentioned that there were switch tracks on the ride to allow the train to go around the same section of track twice. There's another switch track that allows the trains to go from inside of the station to into here. So they just back it in, kind of like a car backing into the garage. That's what these drive tires are here for. So these are kind of similar to that launch system I was telling you guys about, except these tires are a little different, but it's still the same concept as you have a giant motor down here, tire up here. This spins up to 35 miles an hour, and that's what launches your train. These sections of track right here that have a smaller diameter. These are able to be removed. So if they need to take cars or trains off the track entirely, what controls the movement on this section of maintenance track here. You guys can kind of tell what I was saying about how they put up this wall afterward, specifically because this section of gray line right here, which used to be yellow but they painted over it, which is why I say gray line now. This is where those old trains used to come through, which is why right here there's a tire mark on the ground. This was kind of the end of the ride, so this is like where she was saying that the wolf that's been chasing you around the entire time like turns you to ice and says like you'll never escape, that kind of stuff. Yeah. But this is another one of those. In there is that sugar room I was telling you guys about. So that's another one of the computer systems for the ride. So what's going to start happening is King Ludwig is going to start talking a lot. That is the ride crew testing all of the spiels for the ride, making sure that everything is good for the guests. That's them turning on the ride right now. So we'll go back out there in a little bit and look at what's going on. So they're going to start running through all of the voice things that they say to you. So the spiels are things that they say to you when you're in line, getting on the train, getting off the train. It's the person telling you like to lift up all your safety harness and exit carefully to, you know, that person. That's the person doing the spiels. In this case, they have King Ludwig doing it, so he's kind of like the commanding, like haunted voice or whatever. For Bolton, it's Gerda. They have another German guy doing it on the Big Bad Wolf. There's other rides all around the park that have like a themed person doing the spiels. I really like that because it's an easy way to kind of get people more in the headspace for the ride story, that kind of stuff. It's a really easy way to get some good theming for the ride. It makes extra sense for this one because King Ludwig is haunting you, so you don't really know who he is or where he's talking to you from. So it's just them talking. And King Ludwig is kind of like an omniscient kind of ghost, because when you get back into the station, he says you've escaped this time, which is kind of like a callback to the original ride when he says you'll never escape. So a lot of Easter eggs for this ride, a lot of like nostalgia kind of things. Scarlet really loves playing on your nostalgia, which is why they just opened another ride called the Big Bad Wolf, even though they already had it.
Not that way.
Huh?
They turn the light.
We're going. What?
If the light is off, I'm not going that way.
We're going back into the ride. Why are we going out that way?
We're going this way, so you can also tell them to leave the light off and see it.
Oh, okay, that's true.
I know.
I know.
Also, they use this maintenance bay to fix some of the other rides. That's why there's a bumper car in the back corner. And the maintenance guys, their area is significantly large in my opinion, because they also fix the catapults in New France.
I don't know what I could do.
Thank you. Also, Kenneth, did you know that they've never bought new guide wheels for this ride? They've never bought new guide wheels for this ride?
What, just so far, or just they're not going to?
No, they just have yet to. They just keep cycling them out. So
Makes sense.
that's why the guide wheels are so not very intense. And then the only real things they have to worry about when it comes to switching out the wheels is based off of ride times, unlike the other rides, which is based off of weather. Hey, I found Steven. Yeah, he was. Steven!
We are in a back area right now, so we just kind of like burning our dust. We'll be going to a few throughout the day. But we'll come out this way.
FYI, this is where we talk about you.
What?
This is where we talk about you.
Oh.
This is one of many employee break areas.
What are y'all doing back? Yay!
So, kind of a funny thing. This isn't really part of the tour, but it's kind of funny that you can kind of see it. One of the haunted houses that we do called Clown Town, they just left up, and they're going to leave up until Hollow Scream starts again.
Yeah.
It's just a giant parking lot back here that we have no use for.
Well, no, if it's not in guest space, why would we use that? That's why Kalari Diner is
What time is it? 42. I'm still get a bunch of options. Yeah, no, this is really cool. No, is this? If I can get my lights on. Next time they send me a survey for camp, I'm gonna tell them why don't they have this all the time.
Anybody want to play games?
Let's do it. I want to go see DarKoaster with the lights on.
I do too. Yeah, probably. It's one of the cooler things we get to show you guys. I really like doing that.
That is different. That is not something you can get just by coming to the park.
Yeah,
it's a nice park.
The only way you'd see it with the lights on is if you're getting evac'd, and that's not super likely.
Yeah, you're probably not having a fun time doing that.
Yeah, and they'll probably be telling you, put your phones away, please, no pictures, please, or whatever. Even though you guys can literally share the pictures you're taking right now. So it's not a secret as to what this looks like. Like there are tons of pictures of Revolting without its building even there. So it's not even a secret as to what happens in there. But it's not a crazy thing in terms of secrecy. But it's not something that almost every single guest can see.
Where's it going?
So 45. Jane. Thank you. I think Mike's. Park off. Tell the ride operator they'll close their ride. They'll go look into it, and then they'll open it once everything's fixed again. It's just one of the few things that they have to check before the ride can even be turned on for the guests. So they'll be going through all their testing procedures, which includes testing a bunch of different sound effects, testing all the lights, testing all the gates and everything inside the station. So they'll be going through that. They have to be open at 10 today, so they have less than 15 minutes, so they should probably start doing that right now, in my opinion. But there's a very high chance that rides can be shut down due to not having the proper amount of staff, so maybe they're dealing with that right now. What's the...
So they are going to be able to cycle the ride at least once with the lights on, so you can watch. Right. But it might take a while for them to actually let us ride it.
That's what I was thinking.
So yeah. So I'm gonna be at the door, not panicking while you guys get to ride it. While y'all get to watch.
I mean, I waited an hour and a half for this ride yesterday, so.
I'm sorry, I wasn't here selling quick queues.
Well, I probably should have bought a quick queue, but.
You know, when my tour doesn't sell, when tours don't sell, sometimes they'll have us be at the entrance selling quick queues for $25 for one ride.
It's still a little expensive for one ride there.
Yeah.
I was kind of tired. I was okay with waiting like an hour. The extra like half an hour.
I mean, it's cool.
You guys can ride anywhere you want to. You get to ride twice. So if you want to switch mode.
Do you have what it takes to brave the storm? Let's find out.
We'll go to the control room, we'll turn on the lights. You guys will get your one ride, and then we'll turn the lights off for the rest of the guests. One dark ride and then one ride.
So the second one's the one with the lights on?
Yes.
Okay.
Kind of just to give you guys a comparison as to what it's like. So right now there's 4 employees on that ride. That means after they go back and sign off on that, the ride will be cleared for you guys to ride. If you guys have things you don't want to hold on to, there are cubbies and a shelf over there. So once they're in the gate, so you guys head out there, you can just stick them on that cubby thing over there. They'll be there for you guys to come back to after you're done. You guys are the only people in here besides us and employees, so nobody else is anything. This is kind of that snowmobile workshop. Just telling you guys about.
Oh man.
They got extra, like, you know, things here. This used to be a stable in the original ride, which is why they've got the stable doors here. That's completely original. They left that here. That room over there used to be a pre-show, which is why that door kind of looks like it goes up and down. They don't do that anymore, but that is what that used to be. A lot of older things here.
And then the original, did you learn from the same place?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So are these steps the same?
There were no stairs here originally. They had to raise that up for the entry.
Exactly the same as I remembered it. The vaulted ceiling.
The vaulted ceiling's the same. Everything else is the same. It's just the stairs are not here. You guys can go ahead and go to whichever row you want to go to. They'll open the gates for you guys whenever you're ready.
Right, back on the left.
There's not that much of a difference when you're riding in the dark, because nobody can even see ahead.
I use one. The lights on.
Yeah.
Oh here, I'm playing with stuff. Put my phone up. And don't lose my little card. Oh yeah, they're all in the bag. There's not really a difference. Either one.
You don't know law that take.
Yeah, I don't know a lot of
That's
things.
especially since I've already
As long as these people get to ride this once with the lights on, I'm good. So if you guys look at this car right here, you'll notice it says Wild Wolf 9684. So we talked about how this location used to have a ride here called Wild Izzy. So that one opened in 84. And then we had Big Bad Wolf, which opened in 96. Yeah, and then the other one says Frostbite 1719. And that's because we used to have a haunted house in here called Frostbite from 2017 to 2019. Then, you know, COVID. And then in 2021, we had Nevermore Chapter 1. And we still had the Santa set up in here, which was so much fun when I got lost looking for Santa and I walked through Nevermore in the dark.